Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dayakaram Dayakaram Dantam Dharma Pravartakam Pranamami Dayanandam Madacharya Varam Param. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. The opening verses of the Vivekacūḍāmaṇi, Tattvabodha and Vivekachudamani. Vasudevendra Yogendram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattvabodho Bhidiyate Sarva Vedānta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satgurum Pranatosmyaham. So last week we had left a value, one of the qualifications, which is Uparati or Uparama, depending on the text. And there are various ways of understanding this. We saw three particular ways. The original way of understanding Uparati, Uparama is to take to a life of sannyasa, that is total renunciation. We know from all roles and from all duties in life. So that is one understanding of Uparati, Uparama. But not all are prepared for that type of renunciation. So our acharyas have very beautifully also understood another type of renunciation, which is the renunciation of the fruits, results of one's actions. That is a very great type of renunciation. And we saw that a karma yogi lives this lifestyle, has such a lifestyle to practice this type of renunciation in day-to-day life, which is doing your job, doing your duty, doing what you have to do in life, and accepting whatever results from Ishvara's hands or the hands of the order of karma and dharma. So this is, very important type of renunciation. Whole of Bhagavad Gita talks about it. And the final type of renunciation, Uparati, Uparama, briefly we touched upon it. And this is also mentioned in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as a value, which is Vivikta Desha Sevitvam Arati Jana Samsadi. Bhagavan says, you have to sometimes physically withdraw from society, physically withdraw from too much social activities. And Arati Jana Samsadi doesn't mean you run away from people. Every time you see a person, you don't have to run away. That is not what is being meant here. It is cutting down on the socialization, cutting down on going out too much, cutting down on all this too much busyness in the external world. Some people have to keep busy in the external world. They cannot keep quiet because mind is so restless. They cannot sit still with themselves even for 5-10 minutes. This is not healthy for spiritual growth. That's why Uparama, Uparati, is needed. Some kind of withdrawal. You need time for yourself. It is alone time. Let's take it like that. Maybe you can't get alone space because many of us live with family and children and all this. We can't get alone space, but we can get alone time. And that is why they say Brahma Muhurtam, generally from 3 and 6 in the morning, because everybody is snoring away. And you can spend that time in meditation. You can spend that time in self-introspection, important in Vedanta. Nothing can be accomplished without you looking at yourself objectively. So as we saw this, it is very important to start enjoying this solitude, because in company, we forget ourselves. In company, we lose ourselves. That's why we keep seeking company, because I don't remember myself in company. All of this you should see for your day-to-day lives. You check this for yourself. So the reason we want to be with others all the time is because I cannot see my own issues. I cannot face my own problems. Vedanta, unfortunately, requires you to face yourself, because the subject is very clear. Unless you face yourself, you face, as they say in English, you face your demons and you deal with your demons. Spiritual progress is very tough. It's very difficult. So Uparati Uparama becomes a qualification for a spiritual aspirant. And we also remember that we are kind to ourselves. We don't bash ourselves. There's no self-condemnation here. When I look into myself, I should be like looking at some kind of instrument. I always use a car. Look at the car. Oh, I've got a puncture. What do? I change the tire, right? So it is something which is separate from me. The mind is actually antahkarana. It is an instrument separate from me. I am the wielder of the instrument. So if I identify with the instrument, I become, I change with the states of the mind. But if I'm able to develop the space between myself and the mind, that is where peace dawns. So understand that I have an emotional background in the same way everybody else has emotional background. So we all have to deal with each other and ourselves. This is where, self-study, yoga also becomes very important. Physical health contributes to mental well-being. Mental health contributes to physical health well-being. So it is very, very important to have both together as well. So arati jana samsadi is that I am happy if company are there, and if company is not there, I'm also content with myself. And this is where I can go deep, with some meditative practices are coming to terms with my past, coming to terms with certain issues I have to address. Very, very important value. And this is, mentioned throughout the Bhagavad Gita also as a very important value for a spiritual aspirant. So these are the, different meanings of Uparama, Uparati. And all these values we have to understand are to avoid conflict in our minds, to avoid inner conflict, for antahkarana shuddhi, chitta shuddhi, for purity of mind. So we've seen now, Shama, Dhamma, Uparama, they take care of the internal disturbances in the mind. But what happens in life, and this is more relevant for people, what happens when outside world there are disturbances? What happens when things don't go my way, situations don't go my way externally? How do I handle those? I can handle my thought patterns and everything, but sometimes I can't control all the shots in life. Things don't go the way I want. How are we going to handle? So here the text introduces, and Adi Shankaracharya also introduces, an extremely important value. In fact, all of these qualifications are tied together. He calls it TITIKSHA. He's in the Tattvabodha, the definition is titikṣā ka śītoṣṇasukhaduḥkhādisahiṣṇutvam. And a very famous verse in the Vivekacūḍāmaṇiḥ, Adi Shankaracharya goes a step further in his definition. What does he say? He says, sahanaṁ sarvaduḥkhānāmapratīkārapūrvakam cintāvilāparahitaṁ sa titikṣā nigadyate. I'm using Bhagavad Gita tune, but it doesn't matter. You can chant in any tune that you want. So he's introducing here forbearance, the capacity to tolerate, the capacity to endure suffering in life. Amazing qualification if you can gain it. In fact, all traditions in every culture will discuss a qualification like this, the ability to take both pairs of opposites. We can only take one. As human beings, we only enjoy one side of the coin. I found there's a very beautiful saying I remembered, which links in with this value. And, the saying goes, ships don't sink because of the water that surrounds them. They sink because of the water that gets into them. It's a very beautiful saying. Ships don't sink because of the water that surrounds them. They sink because of the water that gets into them. And this is the same way with human beings. There is no issue with what is happening externally, actually. What is happening is happening. It's like the water surrounding the ship. But what happens? I react and I become depressed, despondent, dejected because I allow the external situations to enter me and I sink in life. And this is what this value tells us not to do, tells us to practice. We have to learn, develop the capacity to forbear, to endure, to tolerate, because the fact is in life, everybody's life is a mixture of favorable and unfavorable, pleasure and pain. We cannot avoid. When you have one side of the coin, you're going to get the other, because samsara is built like that. So titiksha can be defined as the capacity to tolerate pain. We don't have to teach anybody to tolerate pleasure. Should I tell you, you have to tolerate the pleasure in life? No, we're not bothered about pleasure. We love pleasure. Anytime pleasure comes, we welcome it, we love it. When pain comes, do we welcome it? I don't think so. Not very easy. This value says, welcome also pain. Welcome also the unpleasant in life. I have to develop this capacity, to accept failures, negative thinking also of myself. That is also, titiksha is also with myself. I have to bear myself, actually. So any kind of physical and mental pain, physical and mental sorrow, a person with titiksha will be able to handle it, will be able to manage it. Bhagavan brings this up in the Bhagavad Gita in a very famous verse in the 2nd chapter. He says, Matra sparshastu kaunteya śītoṣṇasukhaduḥkhādisahiṣṇutvam agamapayino nityaha tans titikṣasva bharata. See, whenever we come into contact with the external world, we are definitely going to have experiences which give rise to pleasure and pain. He says heat and cold. So Bhagavan very beautifully brings in physical pairs of opposites we have to bear, and also mental pairs of opposite we have to bear. But he says what? He doesn't say that you have to, he doesn't say you just have to foo-foo them away. He doesn't say you can just get rid of them. It is only by seeing a very important fact you can handle them. What is that? He says, agama apayinaha, they are impermanent. Nothing is permanent in life. They are subject to change. Any moment of pleasure can turn to pain. Any moment of pain can turn to pleasure. Life is alternating between the two. And Krishna very beautifully says, they are non-permanent, Arjuna. Why do you worry? Everything in life has a nature of coming and going. Why do we want to hang on to the happiness? If you want to hang on to the happiness, you are never going to be happy because you're worried it's going to go. Oh, I'm enjoying myself so much. Go on holiday. Now holidays are ending now in UK. Everybody's coming back to school, back to everything. It's very difficult because, I had a very nice holiday break. Oh, and then last few days of the holiday, what was I doing? Oh, I have to go back to school. I have to go back to work. I have to go back to UK. So I spoiled the last few days because I'm thinking, that change is coming. So this is, exactly what happens in life. We're not able to keep seeing that everything is dynamic. It's all a flow, the Buddhists call it flow of Tao. tau. So it is a flow of life that this person who develops titiksha will go with the flow, will be able to put up with physical and the level of the body. And I think a couple of times I've seen these, somebody sent me a clip of these Japanese game shows. You see how they, what kind of endurance they have to go through physically. They're dragged through the snow and the ice, and how much they can tolerate physically. We're not saying you all have to do that, okay? But the ability to tolerate, even, when having Ganga Snanam, I'm dreaming of my Ganga Snanams now, a couple of days. Every day I'm there, I try and do that. But when the first initial, when you dip, the first cold that you feel, but afterwards it is very normal. Body gets accustomed. So it is that vritti saying it's cold, it's cold, it's cold. That is the thing that one has to watch. It starts in the mind first, then the body also starts feeling, you start feeling it. So physically, I'm able to tolerate things on the level of body, even physical pain as well. I become objective much more to the pain. Emotional pain is much more difficult. Emotional pain is there for everybody. Praise and censure, not praise doesn't bother us, but the censure creates emotional pain. With joy and sorrow, the sorrow creates emotional pain. So all of this, I have to, again, see how I can manage it in life. Because, as I said, life is not a bed of roses. Where there is joy, there will be sorrow. Where there is heat, there will be cold. Where there is day, there will be night. And we are whole mind in, in any culture, we are trained to live in binaries. Somebody said this very beautiful word, binary thinking. We are trained to live in binaries, in pairs of opposites. Because heaven, hell, good, bad, spiritual, even spiritual material is split up into two: rich, poor, up, down, left, right, huge list of opposites. And this binary thinking for people helps us to organize and categorize life. Otherwise, we would feel it very chaotic. We will not be able to handle. But is life really so black and white? Is it, suppose, give an example. Suppose I'm a very wealthy person and I want to construct a hospital for poor people. But in the process, that land has a lot of trees and I have to cut down a lot of trees to clear the land. So what is right and wrong in this situation? What is the best thing to do? See, it's not so clear. This is what we call gray areas. Another example, suppose as a surgeon, I have to amputate a leg in order to save the person more suffering or even their life. What am I doing? I'm doing himsa because I'm cutting their leg. But what is the outcome? It is to save the person. What is wrong and right here? Good and bad, and this is something you think about. Good and bad are only perspectives in life. I label something good because I only see it. I see that situation or that thing that is good in relation to my past, which is my efforts, and the present, which are the results manifesting. So this is very important point. I label something good. Oh, this something good happening to me because I already have an image of what is good, right? I have this image. I like this to happen. This is good for me. This should happen. And it's, again, past experience and how I have been nurture and nature, what I've been brought up. And in the present, the result that manifests, I label that result good, because it's something which is in the same line with my raga. That's why I call things good. Then the opposite. Something unpleasant happens in life, something painful. What do? Oh, this situation is so bad. It's really bad. Again, with the relation to my past, all the efforts I've made to make that situation the way I want, but it's not ended up that way. So I label the situation bad. This is what we call unpleasant, pleasant. So bad situation, we say, oh, it's so unpleasant. Good situations, pleasant. So this is what Shastra asks you to examine. From the perspective of the future, when you have, gone a few months, even a few days, sometimes few years, down the road, from the perspective of the future, the good that you see in the present may not be so good. The bad that you see in present may be a blessing in disguise. This is something we don't account for because we only look like this, tunnel vision. We think what is happening now is not good. What is happening now is bad. And this is where, as human beings, we are not living intelligently. Intelligent living means that I recognize that good can become bad in the long run, and the bad can become good in the long term. Anything can go opposite as well. And if one situation is the same, especially because we quote agreeable situations, if one situation in life is always happy, 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 can you imagine every day happy, 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 will we ever grow in the level of the mind? Will the mind ever grow? Will it be able to take anything? It won't. So we will remain exactly the same way. And this is where, this training of titikṣā says that learn to face the external realities of life. Sahiṣṇutvam, Tattvabodha says, tolerate the physical pain, manage your emotional pain by how? Number one thing that the Shastra gives is invoke Ishvara's grace. Dakshinamurti is a form that we have in our Gurukulas, very beautiful form of Lord Shiva as Guru, as teacher. But people may not have noticed under his foot is a kind of demon. It's a small demon with a dagger, sometimes with a snake. And that, look when you go to Dakshinamurti temples in future. And that is called Apasmara. Apasmara is under Dakshinamurti's foot. And this is the managing emotional pain. It is through Lord's grace alone we can manage emotional pain. There is no way of removing all hurt and guilt in us. No way. Even a wise person will have hurt and guilt. But what you learn with knowledge is to objectify the hurt and guilt. It no longer consumes you. You are objective to it. So the management of retaliations and reactions in life that life throws at us, having all this hurt and guilt in us, is only through seeing everything was in order in my life. My past was in order. It cannot have gone differently. If it could have gone differently, it would have gone differently. There is an order to what happened to me in the past, and that order has taught me how to live more intelligently. It should have taught me how to live more intelligently now in the present. Future is also not in my hands. I don't know what is going to come next. This is all Ishvara's order unfolding for each and every one of us. And so everything for all this pain, bhakti becomes a great tool. Devotion becomes a great tool, important tool to invoke the grace of God to handle these issues. Look at Bhagavad Gita psychology. If you look at it, what is the Bhagavad Gita psychology? It is teaching karma yoga lifestyle. Because Arjuna is not ready for Atma Jnanam. He is not ready for self-knowledge. He's more worried about how am I going to fight the war? In fact, his original question to Krishna was what? Dharma samvuda chetaha. I don't know what the right thing to do is in life. That is his original question. What does Bhagavan say? How does he begin his teaching? He doesn't tell him immediately, oh, this is the right thing to do. You do this thing. He doesn't tell him like that. He starts ashochananvashocastvam. He said the wise don't grieve over what is going to depart nor what is going to remain. He begins his teaching with Atma Jnanam. Arjuna is probably looking perplexed. Poor Arjuna, I can imagine his face. Krishna, I asked you about what to do. Now you're telling me about this Atma? I don't know. So that is why he didn't understand the second chapter, those verses that Krishna gives the Upanishad teaching, self-knowledge teaching. Arjuna does not get it. That is why Krishna gives this lifestyle so that you can get it. And that is the lifestyle of what? It is, I'll put it plainly. If the ego, the individual, perceives the results of actions as coming from a higher power, a higher source, there is more ability to accept what is happening to you in life, right? If you perceive it coming from a higher power, there is more possibility of you, more ability for you to accept. So this is, this is a very important fact, because if I think I'm responsible for the results, then there is reaction, because then I judge myself. If something goes my way, I say success. I'm a success. I'm fantastic. Then if something doesn't go my way, I'm a failure. I really, I can't go on because I can't do anything. I'm useless. So this judgment will not come if the ego is trained to see, hey, you little ego are not in charge of your life. I, Ishvara, Bhagavan says himself, I am in charge of the life. I am the karma phaladata, the giver of the results of action. Why do you worry so much? Just do what you have to do in life. It's very easy, simple. Leave the results in my hand. Be stress-free. Be anxiety-free. Anyway, I'm manifesting it. You are not, going to manifest anything by worrying about it. So this is the way Krishna trains this psychology in the Bhagavad Gita, training the ego to look to a higher power, look to something greater to accept the results. And there's a very interesting story I read the other day, to show this binary way of thinking. We think always in opposites. See if you, if you can answer this dilemma. So there was a master, right? He gives his disciple a very clever dilemma to answer. He says, when you meet a person who is truly awakened, who is enlightened, you shouldn't greet him with words or with silence. This is what the master says. Tell me then, how will you greet him? Now, many of us, we may wonder, we only know words or silence. So the disciple also could not answer. Very simple, actually. So all avenues to communicate seem to be exhausted with the very question. You can't greet this enlightened person with silence or with words. So the disciple said, I don't know, how will we do? The master said, there are ways you can greet the awakened ones. What about a smile? What about a gift? What about flowers? That is also greeting. But what do? We think binary. No, we can't. Silence, words, that's it. So this is, the way the masters also trained. Similarly in life, how do we greet life? Either with complaints outward, I'll be complaining to everybody. Things didn't go my way. I was expecting this to happen. I didn't get this result. And I have to do this again. So there are those people who complain all the time about life. They'll come, everybody knows all their, all their life. They will always be complaining. This is one type of person. Then there's the other type, which are the inner sufferers. They will be suffering inside and they're not able to, deal with that as well. So either we spend our life in complaints or sorrows. And what this binary thinking does is doesn't help us manage our challenges in life in another way. And this is where the gray area comes in life. Could there not be another way to handle my problems? Shastra says, yes, there is another way to handle your problems. And this is how the tests for all are created, and created by Ishvara. Because whole life is actually endurance test. And I always use I love this example. I read also an article once about how much a jet plane is subjected to before it is flight worthy. You should see that. It's very interesting. Where before the plane is flight worthy, there are tremendous tests it is subject to. The birds are chucked into the engines, lightning bolts are simulated, the winds, hurricane, all of this, anything that it could, extreme temperatures, anything that could affect it while in flight, it is, it is given all of these tests in life. So, it is just like us. Life may hit us with great, great challenges, great problems, but we never stop our engines running. You keep going, get up and go on with it. Get on, get up and get on. That is the motto. Get up and get on with life is called TITIKSHA. It is never getting sunk like the boat, letting the water in and getting sunk. Until the destination is reached, don't allow yourself to become worn out and tired with life, because sometimes life can be like that, and we say, yeah, another good thing is that we blame our planets, Oh, Shani, I've got Shani Dasha, 7.5 years of Shani now I have to go through. Some kind of, we always need some prop, So we'll say, let us go to this temple and do this puja for Saturn. Saturn is affecting me now, and I've got all these problems. So there will be always remedies to go to certain temples, which is not wrong. At least you develop some peace. But sometimes, even if we do umpteen pujas, even if we do umpteen prayers, if you have to face a situation, you cannot get rid of it. It means that you have to face it. And what you have to face is called a fact. See, Swami Dayananda beautifully said, the definition of fact is what? A fact is that which you cannot change. A fact is that which you cannot change. That's why it's called fact. Now, if I resist facts in life, who am I creating pain for? Myself. Nobody else is getting bothered. I am creating pain by resisting facts in life. So this titiksha ability is to see that life is facts. And what is failure, in fact? See, failure, we should never equate failure with defeat. A result that does not match my expectation of myself, we call failure. My attachment to my image of myself or for myself, when it doesn't meet, the result doesn't meet that my attachment to that image, then I call myself a failure. Also, you call yourself a failure because you worry what others will think. You think, you project, others will be disappointed seeing me like this. How do you know? We don't know what's going on in another person's mind. Are we Ishvara? It is our own looking at ourselves. We read too much into this word failure because we tie all our self-worth, our self-esteem, self-acceptance in, our expectations to meet what is happening. So expectation we fail to meet is often our own, and one we have created in our own mind. And that we call failure. And in Shastra, this is given a term, Jiva Shrishti, which means my own projection, actually. Failures, there's no such thing as failure in our scriptures. I'm telling you, there's no word like that for failure. Failure is to make me stronger. If there is a word, in English there's a word, so I'm going to use that word, but there's no thing like that in our scriptures. There are experiences to make me stronger. There are experiences to make me persevere, to make me get ahead in life. These experiences are there to teach me valuable lessons, so that failure is not in the vocabulary. These experiences we label failure are the universe's way of speaking with me. What is the universe saying to me when I go through something which I don't like to go through? Hello, wake up. Learn to be patient. Things will happen in their own time. Maybe not your time, but they're in my time. And enjoy the process more than the result. That is the beauty of life. If you start enjoying what you're doing in life, then you're not bothered about what is going to come. Great people. I use a lot of things. When I read a lot of things, I find human beings fascinating. And I listen to all different cultures. I love to read, different countries' literature, all of that. Because you see, the human problem is fundamental throughout. And you see, in US, in the business field as well, there's a famous businessman. You all may know him, Warren Buffett, right? He's a billionaire. And he has given, he has bequeathed, so much, about 90% of his earnings to charity and all of this. And, I read an interview and he said that he's not interested in all that. He lives in a small, still in his 5-bed house, drives the same car. He loves the process. He loves what he does. And the product is just, it's just a byproduct. Whatever results come to him, it is byproduct. He's not got his eye on the result. Try it in life. Don't have the eyes on the results. Just enjoy what you're doing, and you see the blessings will come. They will come multifold, more than you think that the universe will bless, because I'm not clamoring for the results. So this is, this is very important to understand, that TITIKSHA means I will never judge any situation as a failed situation. I will never judge myself as a failed person. And I'm able to accommodate what is not pleasant in life. This assimilation and acceptance of the facts of life brings this qualification for a spiritual aspirant. I cannot accept the fact unless I assimilate it first. So it's very important. Through knowledge, I understand certain things, and I've given you some tips. Watch, the situation is going to change. Then you can assimilate that it is a changing situation. You need not get weighed down by it. So, you can act on the fact and not react. So act on the facts in life, don't react to them, and learn from your mistake and grow with the mistakes. So here, Adi Shankaracharya, in his definition in Vivekacūḍāmaṇiḥ, he goes one step further, because he is interested in giving the qualification, or teaching the qualification for people who want self-knowledge, who are interested in spiritual success. So he says, sarvaduḥkhānāmapratīkārapūrvakam sahanaṁ. Same thing that we were saying previously. He says the same thing. Bear all pain, physical and emotional, relatively the same. You bear it, sahanaṁ, because it's a choiceless situation and you cannot change it, facts. But he says extra here, he says, apratīkārapūrvakam. Apratīkārapūrvakam means without seeking nullification of the situation. Wow, how tough, right? Without seeking to change the situation. Very tough. Says, go through it. Whatever challenge, go through it. What is our main, immediate reaction to unpleasant situation? Change it. What will I do? And then I'll do a lot of things to change it. I don't want to go through this. I'm going to change it. So I don't like this place I'm living in right now. It's, I'm feeling really bad. So what is it? Change it. Go move somewhere else. Then what happens? Your mind goes with you, right? So your body is moving, but the mind still travels with you. And the other place you're living in also seems uncomfortable, and you change that. So I know somebody who's moved houses like this, maybe 20 houses over past 5 years, because they're not happy in any home. It is not the house that's a problem. It is not the surrounding the problem. It's not the place that's a problem. Here is the problem. And this is, Swami Dayananda beautifully said, the problem is you, the solution is you. So more and more I try and keep changing things. Sometimes it's like jumping from the frying pan into the fire. But the way to do this is to look at everything positively. I have said this before. When you go through unpleasant situations, sorrowful situations in life, it means you're eliminating, you are bringing down your papa karma account. In fact, you should be happy. You should be cheering. Oh my God, Bhagavan is reducing papa karma for me. I'm so happy. My account is going down. This is how a spiritual aspirant will look at it, without escaping, without trying to eliminate it. Eliminate your negative karma. Your negative karma balance has to go down. One life or other, you have to reduce until you realize you are not the doer anyway. So then karma doesn't bother you at all. So here it is, don't make efforts, spend all your life trying to change unpleasant situations. We're not saying also that you need not, but you can do if it is possible. Some situations we're talking, what Adi Shankaracharya is talking here, we have to be clear, because it is not that, I sit in Chennai in the middle of the Agni Nakshatra. There's a period in Chennai where it is so hot, you can't even step out of the house, it's like that. You burn to death if you step out and you sweat. And, it is not like you stay in that situation and say, no AC, no fan, titikṣā, titikṣā. No, it is not. That is being silly. So bearing without making any, change in your life means for non-changeable situations. So you have to understand which is non-changeable and which is changeable. That requires some introspection, that requires some experience in life as well. So don't immediately, Adi Shankaracharya says, see, can you bear with it? It may be like jumping from the frying pan into the fire. There is a saying in English, I don't know, this is by the side, but I was interested to know where it came from. It is from an Italian author, and it came to being where some fish were actually thrown live into the frying pan of boiling fat. And one of the fish urges all the other fish to jump out. So jump out of it. But what do? When they jump out onto the burning hot coals, and obviously all die. So that is where the saying comes, jumping from the frying pan into the fire. And this is what we do often in life. We think we're escaping a challenging situation, and we do another thing. But what happens? We find the next situation even more. It's like fire, even worse. So best, if you can handle unpleasant situation and you're able to go through it, go through it happily. Say that I'm exhausting my negative karma account, and this situation will too pass. It is not going to last forever. It is going to go. And another way of training your mind is to see everything, and this my guru taught me. He said, keep one mantra in life. What is this mantra in life? Everything that is happening is for the best. Think like that. Everything that is happening is for the best. I may not see it, but it is for the best. Whatever is happening is good. And this is a very beautiful mantra to keep throughout one's life, because I cannot see past, present, and future like the universe can, like the order can. So this is where I learned to trust, let go and let God, let go and let Ishvara. Then Adi Shankaracharya adds few more qualifications, 2 more for titikṣā. How should it be practiced? He says, cintāvilāparahitaṁ. Cintāvilāparahitam, he says, which means, cinta literally means worry. Sometimes we accept situations but worry, because we're taught, in this Shastra, the qualifications. We've heard a lecture on titikṣā, but then I'm facing some unpleasant thing. And then what do? I look at the situation, then, I'm accepting it, titikṣā. I have to practice titikṣā, accepting. In the mind, what is there? What's going to happen next? Is it going to happen? What's going to happen? Worry, constant worry for future. Is what I want going to happen? So here is where he says, acceptance means there's no worry for future. Where is anxiety for future? If you trust the order, what is going to unfold for you will be exactly what is due to you, what is good for you. This is called trust in order in life. And trust, order is Ishvara. So without worry, he says, don't worry, accept it. Don't worry what's coming next. You live in the present now. And without lament. As I said, I said before, lament means, complaints. Vilapa means, why me, why me, why me? That type of, personality. Some people ask all the time, I'm such a good person. I hear this a lot. I did all good things in my life. I've helped everyone in my life. I've not even killed a fly in my life. Not even a little mosquito I killed, but all bad things are happening to me. Why me? Why me? So I always say, and maybe it's a bit harsh, but I always say, why not you? Do we ever ask, why not us? Why not us? Of course, we do help them to understand that this why me thinking is not helping in the moment, thinking it is a fact. Again, saying why me, I'm resisting the fact. So why not me should be the prudent way of saying, why not me? Other people have to go through so much. Why not me? So this is a type of thinking which is devoid of cinta and vilapa, because I spoil my present by worrying about the future and complaining now. So this is very important, this titiksha to practice. And we're talking about situations, but about people also, I practice titiksha. Give people, I've always said this, Swami Dayananda beautifully said, to the extent I give freedom to others to be who they are, what they are, to that extent I am free. This titiksha means I allow people to be what they are. Very difficult, maybe more difficult than meeting challenging situations. How do I allow people to be what they are? By seeing people are facts also. The people manifesting in your life, are they not facts also? And remember the definition of fact. That which cannot be changed is a fact. I do not make efforts to change those facts, including people in my life. I let them be what they are, and I be in my own space. Their behavior has an order. I may not see the order, but given their background, given their experiences, if I was in their shoes, I would be the same. This is the compassion that one has to develop. Everybody is in order. And the less I try and change people, the more free I am inside. I let everyone be as they are because they're part of Bhagavan's nature, Bhagavan's order. See, we say human nature. That's a very good word. That's human nature. It is nature. Like nature, I don't change the mountain that I see. Do I want the sky to be red? I want the sky to, why is the sky blue today? I want it to be red. I want the cloud here. Why is the cloud on this side? I don't say anything like that when it comes to nature. This is the attitude we bring in to human beings also. I include them in nature, human nature. Let people be who they are. And when you do that, when you give people freedom, you'll see people will just love you. That's real love, actually. Giving people freedom to be who they are, accepting people for what they are, that is love. There's no other thing. Otherwise, it's just control. Love is control. There is no other love apart from this. This is real love. So if we say to somebody, I love you, then I allow them to be who they are. This is something everybody has to see for themselves. So there's no saying, I love you, unless you allow people. So this is an important aspect of the tiksha also. It is to understand, it includes situations, it includes people, it includes everything in your life. And why do I, last point is to dwell upon, why do I feel, that this negative situation or unpleasant thing, that I cannot accept it? Because there is a need in us. And this need is some need we have from childhood, where as soon as our mind starts developing, we have this need. And what is this need? All of us have this need together. It is a need to control. We love to control. We love controlled environments, controlled situations, controlled people, because everybody has to fit. Everything has to fit in my view of the world. As soon as something threatens my box of the world, I don't like it. I call it unpleasant. So this is very important to understand. The practice of titiksha begins first with renunciation of my need to control life, renunciation of my need to control others as well. If things don't go the way I want, I cannot keep changing everything around me to be comfortable. It is impossible. Nobody can do it. How do I handle this discomfort and pain? I Ishwaraize my life. I see the order in others. I see the order in everything. The need to control is sublated in the Ishvara's order, in Ishvara. That's such a beautiful thing. You leave the need to control, leave it in the universal unfoldment of life. Let it go. Let things happen. Take things as they come. And you will find the more you live this going with the flow type of life, you become freer and freer within. And that is what Shastra wants you to develop, that space between you and your thoughts. So titiksha is a great value to bring into day-to-day life. You can do it, practice it in your workplace. You can practice in your family. You can practice it wherever with anybody. Whenever anybody triggers your irritation, your, anger, or any kind of negative response in you, look at yourself. Honestly look. What is it in them that triggers you? They are not at fault because they are nature, human nature. If you know that is their nature, you let them be. What is it in you that gets triggered? If it is not there in you, you will not get triggered. That's another thing I want to leave you all with. If it is not inside you, it is not going to get triggered. So titikṣā, I practice with everything and everyone, and I developed a conflict-free mind, which the qualifications require for Atma Jnanam, self-knowledge assimilation. So I think I will leave it today. As I said, I'm traveling to India now, and I may or may not be able to take all the classes, but we'll let you know when I'm there. If I have time, I will definitely do. In the meantime, I've asked that Bhagavad Gita, some important verses are posted here because these are very complementary to Gita's teaching as well. So you can listen to those in the meantime if you have time. But I wish you all a very titikṣā-filled day ahead, and all blessings. When I get to Rishikesh from Mother Ganga, I will send some photos for all of you to see from there as well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaः, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Satgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om. Namaste.